Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a 7-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. Coach Micheal Burt is considered America's coach, a unique blend of a former championship basketball coach combined with a deep methodology of inner engineering people to produce at a higher level in the business world. Coach Burt found his unique voice early in his life at the age of 15 by starting his basketball coaching career with a junior pro basketball team. Coach Burt is the author of 17 books and an international speaker who holds the world record for the most speaking engagements in 24 hours. He has coached thousands of top-performing individuals and businesses around the world. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, and the coach is in the house, but not just any coach. We have Coach Burt, and as you heard from the official introduction, from a young age, Coach Burt has welcomed success, taking it from the arena into the boardroom. And I promise you, my listeners, you're going to come out of this episode knowing a whole lot more than coming in with some actionable strategies that will help you grow your business. And as you know, here at Deep Wealth, we're all about strategies to grow your business. So when you show up for your exit or liquidity event, you have a more valuable business. But enough about that. We're going to have the coach himself talk to us. So Coach Burt, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us. And there's always a story behind the story. Coach Burt, what's your story? What got you to where you are today?
The story behind the story was, as a very young boy, I was raised by a single mom. And when my mom was working 2 and 3 jobs, she used to take me down to a local baseball field where I would stay for hours and hours. And it was then that I had a big revelation that everybody needs a good coach in their life. It was then that I decided that I wanted to be a coach. So I actually started coaching athletics very early in life, as early as 15, was a head coach at 18. It was the youngest head coach in Tennessee at 22 at the second largest high school, and really fell in love with inner engineering people. You know, what it takes to tap into the deepest part of a person, body, mind, heart, and spirit. Mm-hmm. How do you activate the drive inside of a person to want more, to do more? So that really became kind of my life's work over the last 20 or to 30 years, but I found that very early in life.
And I'm wondering, as I was mentioning earlier, from the sports arena, you've had a tremendous amount of success at a very young age into the business arena. Are you seeing any patterns from one to the other? Because I know offhand people may say, yeah, Jeffrey, leave it in the arena, nothing to do in the business world. I think otherwise, but you'll tell me whether I'm on base or off base with that. I mean, where would some of the similarities be that you see from the arena into the business?
Well, there's really 3 phases to the drive from the new book called Flip the Switch that's coming out January 31st. And that drive has to be activated. Mm-hmm. And it has to be activated both in the sports world. It has to be activated in the business world. Mm-hmm. Then there must be a persistence to that drive, which is a long obedience in a same direction or a consistency to do things you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And then there must be an intensity to that drive. Those are 3 phases of what I'm calling Prey Drive, PREYDRIVE. And when I left the sports world, the first thing I noticed is that people in business were not clear on their targets. Mm-hmm. They were not clear on their persistence. They were not clear on their intensity levels. Mm-hmm. And there was actually lots of areas that I could immediately bring value to people from my background as a championship basketball coach.
And let's talk about the book. And for the listeners, we'll have this link in the show notes. And by the time this episode airs, it'll have just come out and it'll be a point and click. And again, the title of the book, Flip the Switch, Activate Your Drive to Achieve a Freakish Level of Success. Love how you worded that, Coach Burt. So for the business owner who's listening in and say, hey, yeah, you know what? I want a freakish level of success. Talk to me. Let's go with what's in the book. And let's also take that to where most business owners are. And I like to rely on Pareto's Law a lot, that 80% of the issues that you're probably seeing, Coach Burt, in your coaching practice are probably coming from 20% of the same issues time and time again. And you probably even mentioned some of them just now when you're talking from the basketball world to the business world to the corporate arena, what you're not seeing there. But what would be perhaps the top one, top two issues that are holding most business owners back, and they may not even know that it's holding them back?
You're exactly right. Everybody has missing structures. And as it relates to this specific book on Flip the Switch, the number one missing structure is people not being able to activate their drive daily. I live outside of Nashville, live in the United States, and we have become somewhat of a complacent nation. And complacency sets in because our needs are met. Satisfied needs never motivate, only unsatisfied needs. And what happens is we reach a certain level of success, and then we become complacent. Now, we don't set out to be complacent, but we gradually settle to a place of mediocrity, and we quit going into battle. We take the path of least resistance. We don't pursue our potential. The number one problem for all people is I say nothing happens in a company until the prey drive is activated. You know, no different than what we talked about on your podcast. I can't build a company that is more valuable until I make a decision and back that decision up with commitment and resource and can help me. And it all starts with the prey drive being activated, which is a desire to pursue. Prey drive is prevalent in animals. I've actually taken a concept prevalent in animals. I've trademarked it and said that there's a prey drive in a human. It is their ability to see something and pursue it. For you, pursuing something for me may be building a company that's valuable enough to liquidate or sell. It could be building passive income that's greater than my living expenses. But all of that takes effort. It all takes an energy. It takes a movement. So the number one thing I see is just people wake up and listen to their feelings. And amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do listen to their feelings. They set a target. I call that a B in the book. And they move toward that target with a persistence and with an intensity.
Interesting. And you're absolutely right. As I like to say, one of my sayings at Deep Wealth is within today's success are the seeds of tomorrow's failure. To your point, exactly, Coach Burt, because with success, hey, everything's going great. I did it. I made it. I can take my foot off the gas pedal. I can not work as hard, not have to pay so much attention. I'm going to lose my curiosity that perhaps I once had. And it's a terrific segue into one of the principles that you talk about in your book. And I'm going to quote, it's some very direct language that you're putting out there. And in many ways, it goes against the common wisdom, which sometimes isn't so wise that we have today. Screw your why. How to get your purpose to activate you. Can you share with our leaders? And again, I just love how you're using the words to grab our attention and make it colorful and get that out there. But for our listeners, what's going with the screw your why? How to get your purpose to activate you? What's behind that?
Well, a very popular concept, and it's a great concept, it's greatly packaged, is that you have to find your why. And it's an easy thing to say, Jeffrey, find your why. It's all going to work out. And so actually, chapter 3 of the new book is called Screw Your Why. And it is strong language, and it's intentional because I have been coaching people for 30 years. First, I have athletic coach. Now it's a business and performance coach.
Yep.
I actually don't believe you have to find your why to do something big in the world. I actually believe your purpose finds you, or you discover this when you are pursuing something. I didn't know I wanted to write books until I started writing books. I didn't know I wanted to coach adults until I started coaching adults. And I think a lot of people feel like they're losers because they haven't found their why. Now, the argument I make in the book is I could actually know my purpose. I could know my why and still not be motivated to go into battle today. And so think about prey drive as activation. So what I refer to in the book versus find your why is what's called a because goal.
Okay.
And a because goal is a big reason a person takes action when they don't feel like, okay? Because I grew up without a father, I made up my mind I was going to be a good dad to my kids. Because I grew up poor, I made up my mind I'd never be poor. Because I want time and freedom, I chose to build a business that would give me time and freedom. See, because goals are big reasons to do something when you don't feel like it. The whole chapter is like, hey, pursue something, pursue an interest, pursue a curiosity, pursue a partnership, pursue something. And in the process of pursuing something, your purpose could find you. That's really what that chapter is about.
And what I really enjoy about that, what resonates with me, Coach Burt, is, to me, society and social programming tells us, hey, Jeffrey, you got to be perfect. Before you go out there, before you hang up your shingle out there, it's got to be perfect. And you're resonating with me because it's also a belief of mine. Done is always better than perfect. I'd rather get out into the marketplace today. Maybe I'm not going to be so great, but to your point there, I'm going to find my why along the way or find my purpose, but I'm not going to wait for it and just hold off until it becomes apparent. In the process of doing, the marketplace will tell me very quickly what's working, what's not working. And then I wanted to find out, because from the Screw Your Why, chapter 3 into 4, the 5 activators of your prey drive. And again, for our listeners, we're giving a very high level over this. There's only so much that we can do in this episode here. And please go click on the link and get the book. But Coach Burt, for our listeners, what's going on with these 5 activators? What are they and how do we leverage them?
Well, I started thinking, what activates a drive inside of a person? Let's think of inspiration as breathing life into another person. I can be inspired.
Yep.
Maybe, but not even motivated. I can be motivated, which means to move. What I'm focused on here is the act of activation or initiation. What initiates the drive inside of a person to want more? And so I began playing around with these drivers. Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive, and he said that people were motivated by autonomy, by mastery, by purpose. I actually started thinking more granular. Let's say I woke up today and I didn't feel like coaching people. Okay, what could activate my drive to want to do something, even when I don't want to? So I started thinking, what activates a person's drive? Fear is an activator of drive, specifically fear of loss, which is why I love a concept psychologists call mental subtraction. See, when I'm not motivated, I take something I love and I pretend that I have to give it up because I didn't hit my goals, because I didn't bring any revenue in, because I didn't pursue. Fear is an activator of prey drive, but specifically maybe fear of loss or even fear of embarrassment. And when people are under fear, stress, they fight or they flee, or psychologists are now saying they even freeze, which is what's happening a lot in our economy today. They just don't do anything. They don't know what to do. Well, prey drive is, it is action. When you don't know what to do, take an action. Take any action, even if that's pick up the phone and call Jeffrey and say, what do you think I should do? It's like, okay, so fear, activator. Number 2, competition. Some people have a desire to be the best. When there's a competitor, when there's a threat, that activates the prey drive. Okay, I was a championship basketball coach and I had one adversary, one nemesis, and it took me years to figure out how to beat that one dude, but it made me better. It made me better. And so I am a big believer that you need a trophy to win, even if it's in your own mind, a game to play.
So a little bit of healthy competition, you against an opponent or even you against yourself, whatever it is, just some kind of competition to get that prey drive activated.
Yeah, I'm a speaker and I got booked yesterday to speak at an event, and it's me and real estate, Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry's a big real estate coach. And I said, great, man. May the best man win. We'll both have an audience of 150 people. We'll both have an hour with them. We'll see who connects with the audience the best. He could win. I could win. It's a little healthy competition. It's fun, but it activates the drive. Like, all right, let's do this. Let's go. Number 3, environment is an activator of prey drive. See, I buy these properties, these real estate properties around the country where I do really cool retreats. And I've always said that inspirational things happen in inspirational places. So I place in Florida, I have a big lodge in Tennessee. We're all constantly looking at other places because people can go there and get in an environment where their drive can be activated and they can think bigger and want more and want to pursue their potential and deals and opportunity. It's also when people have the highest probability of taking an action with me, when they're in those environments. Environment is an activator of prey drive. You need an environment where there's expectation. You need an environment where there's standards. You need an environment where there's language. You need environments where there's accountability. Those are environments. Number 4, exposure. If you came to me and said, look, I really want to activate this person's prey drive. We do couples retreats. My wife and I do couples retreats, 4 to 6 per year in Florida. And many times, one party, one person in the marriage is wanting to grow, expand, get better. And there's another party that's scared and nervous and kind of want to stay where they're at. And they say, what can I do with my wife and my husband? I really want to go to the next level, but they're stuck where they're at. And I said, the best thing is to expose them to people who are doing bigger things. Get them down to our house in Florida. And inevitably, they leave there going, I'm thinking bigger. I need to be playing bigger level. I do have potential. I do have talents. I do have this. That is exposing them to something, and that opens their mind to new possibilities. That is an activator of prey drive. And finally, embarrassment is an activator of prey drive.
Interesting. Embarrassment. Okay, talk to us about that.
Meaning I prepare and I prepare and I prepare so I don't get embarrassed. And there's two types of people in the world I talk about in the book. There's what's called a defensive pessimist. And a defensive pessimist is a person that thinks about all the things that could go wrong. Therefore, they work and they prepare so that they don't go wrong. It's because they don't want to be embarrassed. It's embarrassing for Nick Saban to lose a football game. So he prepares and he prepares. That's a defensive pessimist. Then there's what's called a strategic optimist. And the strategic optimist is a person that shows up, generally believes everything's going to work out. They don't do much planning. They're optimistic. Now, the defensive pessimist is not a pessimistic person. It's just a person that mentally rehearses everything.
Sure.
When I was a basketball coach, this was back in the days, Jeffrey, when people read the newspapers. This was 20 years ago. What people read every day was the newspaper back in those days. My team was ranked in the country. And when we lost, it was embarrassing. And I hated losing more than I liked winning. And I thought of losing motivated me to want to prepare so that we didn't have that feeling. What I found is that embarrassment will activate a person's drive, take action, to pursue, to do something. In the book, I kind of unpack each of these 5 activators, plus those 3 phases of prey drive I talked about in the beginning of the interview.
It's interesting. And I see how you've taken the science. And what I really like what you did is the science, as you point out, it's vague. It's such big picture. How do we really apply this to our life? And you're saying, okay, look, here's the science. We know this works, but here's what you're going to do on a day in, day out basis. And perhaps from psychology, again, we all know that people will do more to avoid pain than to get pleasure.
Right.
And for you, no different than any of us, hey, that thought of losing, that feeling of losing, man, that's going to drive me to over prepare because I'm going to do everything I can. I'm not going to be negative, but I'm going to do everything I can to show up over prepared, to expect the unexpected, and then see where it's going to go. And I suppose that would be a great segue into the next chapter where you're talking about going all in. And for the benefit of our listeners, what would be some takeaways? Because you've now given us the foundation. We got the prey, we've got these 5 factors, we've got the science behind that. Going all in. What's going on with going all in?
When I look at the habits of the top performers in the world, they have certain attributes. I'm talking about the top 1% of performers, and not necessarily top 1% of money earners, although there would be a strong correlation. The top 1% of performers have a remarkable boldness about them. They have an intrinsic motivation, which would be the because goals I talked about. They have a connection. They treat everybody like family, the family they like. They have the ability to lock in and see something through to its conclusion. And they have a grit and resilience about them. In the book, I have this chapter called Pretenders versus Contenders. And not that a pretender is a fake. It's just a person who has not made this important decision to go all in. The word decide means to kill something off. The word decision means to cut something away. The real top players that have high prey drive are making big decisions to go all in. They're making big decisions to invest time, energy, money. They make a decision to move toward their B with an intensity. They don't dabble. They decide. They really go to work on these habits of the top 1%. And that's really what I'm talking about in the book there is, are you an amateur? Are you a pro? Are you a pretender? Are you a contender? Are you in it to win it? Or are you just in it?
And I'm wondering, because I really like where you're going with that. And so when you're talking about the top 1%, and hey, couldn't we all learn from them? They've already paved the road. They've had their many failures. Now they're at the pinnacle. We can learn from that. One of the concepts that you talk about in the book, which I like, it's creating value in the world. And what I also like about that, and we'll hear it straight from you, is, for some of the naysayers that may be out there is, well, Jeffrey, hey, you're just selfish. It's all about you. It's all about your success. You're achieving all the zeros that you want to get in your bank account. But you counterbalance that with creating value in the world. And It'd be great for our listeners for you to share what's going on with that. What's the story behind the story of that one?
Well, I say money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve that problem. And as long as there are ambitions, dreams, and as long as there are problems, there will always be ways to be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
See, value is an exchange of your talent and skill for someone else's problem or ambition.
Right.
And if you think of it like this, there's no shortage. There'll never be a shortage of money. There'll never be a shortage of opportunity. It is up to you, though, to uncover and discover your gifts and talents, which very few people do, package those talents, market those talents, and ultimately monetize those talents through value creation. And value creation is me using my skill set to solve your problem. And that actually activates my prey drive when I'm able to go into battle every day, do what I love doing, be incredibly useful and valuable for others, use my knowledge, my skill, my attitudes, my habits to exchange those to help you with your ambition. And that's where ultimately monetization takes place. But it's also just where the prey drive is reactivated, because it's like, man, I get to enjoy what I'm doing. I found my talent. I'm distributing my talent. The world is rewarding me in a very high level in the form of love and appreciation and affirmation and reputation and even money. See, selling 10,000 copies of a book is an exchange. You've delivered value to another person. That's why they purchased the book. That's why they want to help and support you. A lot of people don't even think about creating value or monetization of that value, or they don't know how to do it, which I've spent a lot of time in my coaching programs teaching people this is how you create unique value in the world.
And on that note, you mentioned something interesting. We're creating value. We're helping people. I mean, after all, that's what business owners are. And don't get me going, because I can talk about how private equity and venture capital have raised a whole generation of entrepreneurs of, hey, I don't need to do any value. I'm just going to create a company. I'm not going to have any real profits, any real clients, and I'll sell it for $1 gazillion. We're not going to go down that path. We're getting back to basics, which is exactly what you're talking about. But let's go back to something that you said now and something that you said earlier. And they both make sense, but how do we tie these together? Earlier, you said, hey, Jeffrey, just go out there and start doing whatever you're doing. And along the way, you'll find your why, you'll find your passion, whatever that is. And then in my own words, from what you just said right now is, hey, everyone's got a superpower. Find your superpower, apply it to solving problems, and watch what unfolds from there. Because I love what you said. When you solve a problem, that's where money exchanges hands. Finding the superpower, though, is that the same kind of methodology as what you mentioned earlier? Because I know some listeners are saying, I don't even know my superpower. Got into this business to get into the business. I'm not sure where my strengths are. How do they not get caught up in that? Not get caught up in the why of the superpower. The superpower finds them, just like you said a little bit earlier with having your why or your passion find you. So any methodologies, any insights or tips?
Yeah, I actually teach this in a boot camp I do called Person of Interest, but it's also in the new book, Flip the Switch. And it's think of it as a cycle. I find that which makes me unique based on my unique past, my unique mentors, my unique experiences, my unique education, my unique breakdowns. There is a discovery to go into the past and find my primary skill. And then I want to take that skill and package it into something the world can consume, absorb, purchase. Then I want to market that. So when you go back to finding the superpower, there's 4 questions I ask people. Number 1, what do you love doing? That's passion.
Yep.
Number 2, what are you really good at doing? That's talent. Number 3, where is there a need in the world that you can fulfill with what you're good at and what you love doing? And number 4, what is your conscience telling you? What are you supposed to be doing? At the intersection of those 4 questions, it's typically what's called your voice. I was a deep disciple of Covey, and Covey taught, find your voice and then inspire other people to find their voice. High numbers of people have no idea what their skills and talents are. There's no courses on it. There's no talents on it. And what I really do for people is crystallize their calling. And that's part of the activation of prey drive. Because when I help a person crystallize their talents, their voice, their calling, their distribution, then it's like, boom, now I'm on fire. Now I'm excited. Now I'm ready to go into battle, because now my drive has been activated because there is a big future for me. I am now excited about that future. I'm not stuck. In the book, I talk about the levels of energy: dynamic, static, entropic. I'm not plateaued, stuck. I'm not disintegrating. I am dynamic, alive, vibrant, excited. That is when I am in my voice and calling in life, doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And for our listeners and Coach Burt, I mean, no surprise here. You're successful yourself. With those 4 questions that you just shared, it so much reminds me of the Japanese version of Ikigai, which is
Mm.
also, what's your purpose? Why are you living? What energizes you? What has you feel good? And so we have ancient wisdom brought up into the modern day world with some of your strategies in terms of what you're doing and what's getting out there. In your experience, when someone is asking those 4 questions to get that value creation going, everyone is
Mhm.
different. I get that. Maybe someone finds it in an hour, someone finds it in a day or a month, maybe a year. Typically speaking, though, is there kind of a back of the envelope that if someone applies themselves, asks those questions, goes through the exercises, does the journey, how long are you seeing, we'll call it successful people, entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, finding themselves on that path? What would you say to that?
I think this is a never ending path. There's levels of mastery. If you study mastery, typically 4 to 7 years studying under a master, 4 to 7 years practicing what you see the master do, 4 to 7 years of actually mastering something. And that
Mhm.
cycle missing many times in today's world. It's the cycle of apprenticeship, the cycle of working through that is missing in today's world. Nobody wants to do it. I went through an apprenticeship where I was an assistant coach. I studied under a person. Then I went through 7 years of studying under Covey. People say, like, where's your breadth and depth come from? Well, it comes from actual studying under a master. So for me, it's a never ending cycle toward mastery. That's when it comes to the Prey Drive language, it's A to B. But once you get to B, there will be another B. There will
Mhm.
be a consistent cycle of reactivating the drive for a new championship to win. That's why sports is such an interesting thing to me, because we won a championship and it all goes to zero at midnight, right? I mean, like as soon as you win the championship, first question you get asked is, are you going to come back and win another championship? And I'm like, it took me 10 years to win the first championship. But it is true that in business, you achieve a target and it reactivates the drive. You set a new target. You don't measure all success based on just achieving the target. You measure
Mhm.
success in pursuit of the target.
And Coach Burt, with your system, with the Prey Drive, talk to us about that because you raise a terrific question. People call it all kinds of different things. I call it the moonshot. When the astronauts got to the moon for the very first time, and then they came back, they had that parade and everyone was out and a gazillion people and the world was watching. But then in the days, weeks, and months afterwards, in some of the biographies of the astronauts, they were downright depressed. And Coach Bird, I see this with the business owners that we work with here at Deep Wealth. When they have their exit, we help them with our 9-step roadmap. They grow the business. When it's time for them to have that liquidity event or that exit, they show up with a more profitable or more valuable business. And left to their own devices, we don't let this happen, but left to their own devices, their post-exit life could be miserable. They never find their happily ever after. I shouldn't say never, but most don't find their happily ever after. You're looking at one of them. When I had my exit, I didn't prepare and had a rough landing, so to speak. That's why we built that into the 9-step roadmap now of making sure that doesn't happen. But in your world, Coach Burt, from what you're doing, when we achieve that moonshot with the Prey Drive now working as our ally and our friend, how do we avoid that letdown of, okay, now what? I achieved the greatest thing in my life. Now what?
Well, think of it this way. You're using your talents in incredibly useful ways, and that makes you useful and valuable. And when a person retires,
Mhm.
they are taking themselves out of use. What happens is we believe that if we just achieve a target or sell our business or become wealthy, that, we'll be happy. But an important part of Prey Drive is pursuit. It is purpose. It is pursuit of something. What happens when you sell that company is there's no pursuing. David was a great king in the Bible until he stopped going into battle. What happens is your prey drive is suppressed, you're disoriented, you're lost. You need a new target. You need a new goal. You need a new game plan. You need something new to pursue. And
Mhm.
without that pursuit, man, you can be incredibly unhappy. Progress is a natural motivator for people. If you're not
Mhm.
progressing towards something, you can become chronically unhappy.
And that is a terrific segue into one of the concepts that you talk about in the book. At a high level, you say everything is energy. Perhaps we can break that out for our listeners of how they can apply that to their lives, where they are now, but where they're heading, and when they do get that moonshot, when they do achieve that success. So everything is energy. What's going on with that?
Well, energy is in 3 states. Okay. Think of a plane. I have a jet, a Hawker 400 that I travel around the world on, and it has an attitude indicator in the cockpit. Out of all the dials, there's an attitude indicator that tells you if the plane is ascending, climbing, it is plateaued out, it's climbing altitude, or it's descending, it's
Hmm.
landing. Energy's like that. The minute you stop growing, you start dying. So how do you stay dynamic? I can't tell you how many people I've coached that are wealthy and stopped growing. Now they're dying. I can't tell you how many people that are plateaued, stuck, static,
Hmm.
bored, in a rut. And when I talk about it like that, people very quickly say, oh yeah, man, I'm plateaued. I'm in a rut, stuck, or disintegrating. They don't say I'm dying, but they say I'm not growing.
Hmm.
Right. And I need growing in the body, in the mind, in the heart, in the spirit. I need to
Hmm.
be growing. And that is an activator of prey drive. I don't feel stuck. I feel like I am in creation mode. And I'm at my best when I'm in creation mode. And I'm not going to negative town or anxiety or
Hmm.
catastrophizing. I'm staying in creation mode because that's when I am most dynamic, when I'm in creation.
Interesting. And you didn't quite say it this way, and you can tell me if I'm on base or off base in creation mode. And you said, look, I'm not worrying. I'm not going to be going down worry town or worry road or anything else like that. It sounds like really being in the present moment and looking at your prey drive, what your goals are, what gift you're giving to the world. Would I be on base with something like that in terms of how I'm interpreting that?
Well, a lot of the book is around a real simple exercise
Mm-hmm.
called From A to B.
Uh-huh.
A is your current position, B is your desired outcome. And a lot of the book is this exercise of constantly reworking this A to B. I'm currently here. I'm trying to get here.
Mm-hmm.
My because goals activate my drive to go here. I'm activated by these things. I
Mm-hmm.
have these three phases I've got to factor in, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
moving towards something. If I stop moving, then I'm stagnant. And if I'm stagnant, I'm most likely unhappy because I feel like I'm progressing. Now, the percentages tell us, I mean, that's 67 to 75% of people are disengaged with their work in
Mm-hmm.
America. It also tells us that almost 87% of people live their entire lives and never find their purpose. There's some missing components here that I tackle. And I say, man, if this prey drive is activated in you, you will want to expand.
Mm-hmm.
You will want to grow. You will want to have a better life. But until it is activated, you just sit, inertia. You just sit with the resistance to move because maybe you don't know any better. And I can say this with authority because I've been coaching people. And I have
Mm-hmm.
people come to my coaching sessions before that said, man, I had no idea what I was coming to. Somebody told me I should come to this. And then they leave there on fire. Man, I got dreams. I got goals. I got potential. I've got talent. It's like it's been sitting there, deactivated. And
Mm-hmm.
then they come and exposed to something, boom. And then it's like, oh, I'm ready to go now. It's just something I've been fascinated with for the last 4 or 5 years, just studying what really activates this drive in people.
And so in the book, Flip the Switch, and you talk about this, and it parlays right now into what you're just saying. So someone reactivates themselves and they flip the switch, they got the prey drive going, but now they feel perhaps torn in different directions. And I know one of the principles that you talk about, one of the concepts in the book, is how we can prioritize and personalize the prey drive so we're not all over the map chasing different kinds of things. What would you share with our listeners about that?
Well, your goals are uniquely yours, but you need them. They're your life and your B. What I say, your B is totally up to you. My B is mine. It gives me something to work toward. And when you personalize it and you write it out daily and you have a system of actions that you
Mm-hmm.
take, because I'm a very tactical person because of my
Yes.
background as a coach. It's not just up here. It's really okay. These are the daily actions I take to reactivate my prey drive. This is how I move toward creating revenue. This is
Mm-hmm.
how I create a B. This is how I move toward that B. And what I'm teaching people is, hey, it's personal to you. There's no right or wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
It's your B. Your B may say, I want to build a company and sell it. Your B may be, I want to be in the trenches working every day. Your B may be, I want to live in Florida 40% of the time. Like it's totally up to you. One of my B's is my passive income is greater than my living expenses.
Mm-hmm.
My B's is that, and I live an intentionally congruent life where my wife
Mm-hmm.
and kids travel with us and
Mm-hmm.
we build a life around our unique abilities and talents. That's one of my B's. One of my
Sure.
B's is my company certain amount of revenue per year. It's just really this habit of activation and initiation. It's
Mm-hmm.
initiating, like starting a car. It has ignition.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens until it's cranked. Nothing's happening until the button's pushed. And that's really what I'm trying to do with this book. Like, hey, get out of inertia, get out of complacency, get out of living here when you can go here. But something has to happen for this to start up.
And we really talked all the way through about this, Coach Burt, and it's another concept in your book, and you've given us strategies to my next question, but I'll ask it anyways because it makes a terrific wrap-up question as we begin to go into the thought experiment that every guest I have the privilege of asking the question. But before we go there, one of the concepts that you talk about is how you reignite your prey drive. Not next month, not next week, but today. and tomorrow
Yeah.
and every day after that. Again, you've sprinkled some terrific strategies and some insights on that, but perhaps you can round that out for us and giving us some direct takeaways of how every day we're re-energized with the prey drive, we're reactivating it.
Think of yourself as four-dimensional: body, mind, heart, spirit.
Okay.
Each of these parts produce different needs, different intelligences, different capacities. Each of these parts need to be fed, nourished, nurtured. The way I activate my prey drive in the morning is I go to work on all four parts: something physically, something mentally, something emotionally, something spiritually. And when my prey drive is deactivated, today I'm working from my home office, which is beautiful, overlooking the water and those things, inspirational things. But if I got stale during the day, I go out and go for a walk or a run or a bike ride. I change my energy state. The fastest way to reactivate prey drive is change your state of energy. Listen to something, watch something, hear something, move. Don't sit. Get up and get going. I change my environments weekly. I work from downtown Nashville, which is movement and energy. I have this big, beautiful lodge. It's in the country. Then I work from different places. I go to Far House, Florida. What I'm doing is I'm changing my state of energy. And I never allow myself to get complacent or fall into that because I'm changing that energy.
Well, some terrific insights. And you know what, as you're speaking, Coach Burt, it reminds me when you're flying private, so you probably won't hear this, but when most people are flying commercial, they'll hear the announcement, if the mask comes down, put it over yourself first before you help the person next to you. And it's a terrific, really, takeaway and strategy for life. Take care of yourself first, re-energize yourself. In your case, whether it's walking or your surroundings, your environment, you talked about that a little bit earlier as well. So when you're taking care of yourself, you can then take care of everyone else around you. And Coach Burt, before we go into the wrap-up question here, I do have a question. It's a little bit of the story behind the story. Our listeners heard this in the official introduction because you hold a record, the world record for the most speaking engagements in 24 hours. So what's the quick story behind the story on that one?
This was several books ago. I was looking to get attention for the book. And I thought, let's do something crazy. How many people could I speak to? The Guinness Book of World Records had a record of one person speaking for 16 straight hours.
Wow.
They didn't have a record of the most engagements in a day. I thought, why don't we see if we can coach 40 businesses in one day? And we geographically line those businesses up in one city. We went from business to business. People were ready. And I literally went and did speaking engagements at 41 businesses in one day. And the funny thing was, I could have done 80. It would have been maybe planned a little bit better. It was the first time we've ever done anything like that. But we literally started 8 a.m. in the morning, went to 5 o'clock that day, and we just did business after business and speaking, and they had everybody ready. It was an interesting day to see if we could do something really cool.
Wow. I love how you said, hey, yeah, I did 40, I probably could have done, or 41, I probably could have done 80 with a little more planning. There's a prey drive right in front of us, right in action. And congratulations, 17 books in. Wow, that's absolutely fabulous. That said, let's begin to wrap this up. I'm going to ask our favorite question here at the Deep Wealth Podcast. So, Coach Burt, I want you to remember the movie Back to the Future. And in the movie, you have that wonderful and magical DeLorean car that can take you back to any point in time. So here's the fun part, Coach Burt. You look outside your window. It's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car there, but the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in. You hop in, and you're now going to go to any point in your younger life. Coach Burt, as a child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what are you telling your younger self in terms of life wisdom or life lessons or, hey, do this, but don't do that? What would that sound like?
Go back to the day I walked in as a new head coach at the age of 22. And I walked in with the mindset of, man, there's going to be some change around here, and it scared everybody to death. And instead of walking in and getting people excited about playing for me, telling, being an ambassador, being upbeat and positive, I really walked in with this mindset of, man, there's a new guy in town. Everything's going to change. And it was really the wrong way to start off the relationship. I should have walked in and tried to get support, because people don't buy into the message until they buy into the messenger. And I should have walked in and said, man, it's going to be great. I can't wait to coach you guys. This is going to be awesome. A lot of the great college coaches understand this. You saw Hugh Freeze do this at the University of Auburn, because he probably made a mistake like I did somewhere along the way, to motivate through fear versus positive reinforcement. And so I would take myself back to that moment, because I remember it like it was yesterday. And afterward, I was like, oh, that was such a mistake.
What a great takeaway. Terrific insight. People don't buy into the message. They buy into the messenger. a terrific way to wrap up this episode. And for our listeners, Coach Burt, I'm going to have all of your links in the show notes, particularly for the book and your website as well. It'll be a point and click. That said, though, if someone wants to reach out, perhaps they want to become a client or they have some questions for you, they want to talk with you, where's the best place online someone can find you?
I would just email us, coach@coachburt.com. You can go to our website, coachburt.com. It shows you our products and services. Follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Anywhere out there you search Coach Micheal Burt, you'll see we put out a lot of content. But yeah, coach@coachburt.com. And I'd love to be with them. And thank you, man, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And for our listeners, it doesn't get any better. The coach himself, hey, just email me directly, coach@coachburt.com. Doesn't get any easier than that. And so listen, as we wrap this up, it's official. It is a wrap. Thank you for taking part of your day, spending it with us on the Deep Wealth Podcast. And as always, please stay healthy and safe.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make, because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that is great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe it's going to benefit us both.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, if it added value, if you walked away with some new insights and strategies, please leave a review on your favorite podcast channel. Reviews help us reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. And as we wrap up this episode, as always, please stay healthy and safe.